I met Jake in the 90s through mutual friends when I was in college, and he had just graduated. Fate seemed to push us together because we were both planning to move across the United States, almost 3,000 miles away, and somehow we ended up living only about 90 minutes apart. We fell in love quickly. Jake started a PhD in animal sciences, and I worked nearby visiting him most weekends. He rented a house with 2 roommates from his program. And although we were broke like most young people, we had fun sheep taco dates, long talks, and spending time around the many animals he bred and sold. I even became close with people around him, including his siblings and Mary, the kind wife of his academic advisor who worked at the university. Everything seemed perfect until, after nearly 2 years together, Jake suddenly criticized my weight while we were lying in bed. I had gained maybe 10 pounds at most, still wearing the same size clothes, and I refused to argue about it. I calmly asked what his solution was. His answer was that I should lose weight. I simply said I wasn't going to and left it at that. A few months later, he broke up with me after almost 3 years together, claiming the reason was that I didn't know enough about science and that he couldn't talk about his work without simplifying things for me. I knew it was nonsense and pushed him for the truth. Eventually, he admitted he had been seeing one of his undergraduate students, Meg, who was 19 while he was 26 and her teaching assistant. After the breakup, I emailed his roommates to thank them for their friendship. They confessed they already knew about Meg and had pressured Jake to tell me. One of them, George, offered to help me retrieve my belongings from the house and suggested I come for a weekend so we could go out and have fun. When I visited, I quietly took photos of Jake's animals. I knew he kept an endangered animal without filing the required paperwork and also had another species that was illegal to own in that state. After taking the photos, George and I went out drinking and came back late, making sure Jake and Meg saw me laughing and carefree. The next day, I developed the photos and contacted the State Fish and Wildlife Office to report what I had seen. George and the other roommate also filed complaints with the university about Jake having a relationship with his student. Soon, investigators arrived at the house, confiscated animals, and opened a case. Jake lost his federal EPA research grant and had to repay nearly $30,000 already spent. He was fined around $15,000 for illegal animal possession and lost all the breeding animals he had collected. The university also revoked his scholarship and fired him from teaching because of the relationship with his student, forcing him to leave his PhD program and finish only a master's degree. Life moved on. I stayed friends with his siblings, built my own career, and eventually earned a master's degree myself. Ironically, my work became helping scientists and doctors explain complex ideas to everyday people, the very thing Jake once mocked me for. Over the years, I learned he married Meg and had children while I traveled widely for my work, speaking at universities and organizations. Bro, about 20 years later, I was invited to give a lecture at a major university. After the talk, a familiar voice greeted me. It was Jake. I pretended not to recognize him at first, then politely greeted him and moved on, satisfied that he saw me as a guest lecturer while he sat in the audience. Later at dinner, the faculty mentioned he was interviewing for a teaching job there. I couldn't help reacting and explained that years earlier he had lost his teaching position for having an inappropriate relationship with a student. The faculty realized they might have a serious issue and said they would investigate. Shortly afterward, my old friend Mary told me the university had requested Jake's background file. It included records of the misconduct complaints and even documentation related to the animal investigation. With all that information resurfacing, it was unlikely he would get the job. In the end, I returned to my life feeling satisfied that truth has a way of resurfacing. I never lied about anything. I only made sure the right people knew the facts. The experience taught me an important lesson. If someone who claims to love you criticizes your body or tries to make you feel small, that reflects their own flaws, not yours. Sometimes the best revenge isn't cruelty or lies. It's simply letting the truth reach the right places and allowing time to do the rest.